Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Humanitarian Horizons. I am your host, Christina DiArcangelo. This podcast has always been looking at the world through the humanitarian lenses, asking the hard questions about leadership, responsibility, and the human consequences of decisions made in boardrooms, governments, and war rooms. Today, we are facing a moment that feels deeply unsettling. As you saw, I just took a deep breath because what's happening in the United States right now is just chaos. We are experiencing another government shutdown, a moment when the institutions that millions of Americans rely on are partially halted due to the political gridlock. At the same time, the United States is engaged in a rapidly escalating conflict involving Iran, a situation that has already produced casualties, economic instability, and fears of a wider regional war. These two realities are happening simultaneously. And when that happens, we have to step back and ask the fundamental question: what does responsible leadership look like during times of compounded crisis? Let's start with the global stage. In February of 2026, coordinated military strikes by the United States and Israel against the Iranian military and nuclear targets triggered a major regional conflict. Iran responded with missile and drone attacks across the Middle East, targeting Israeli cities and U.S. bases in the Gulf. Within days, the conflict expanded by beyond airstrikes. Oil shipping routes were threatened, global energy markets were shaken, and international tensions rose sharply. When the waterway is destabilized, it doesn't just affect the Middle East. It affects the price of your fuel in your local town. It affects food prices. It affects supply chains. War is never isolated. War is always global. And even in these early stages, the human toll is already real in the United States and across all of the service members involved that have been wounded in conflict, and there's civilian casualties that have occurred as well that are continuing to rise in the region. This is not a video game. This is human lives. Now, let's look at what is happening domestically. At the same time, the United States is managing a major international conflict. Washington is also grappling with a government shutdown driven by political gridlock over federal funding. A shutdown means that the government operations slow or stop completely. Federal employees may be furloughed. Critical services may operate with limited staffing. Security and administration operations can become strained. In times of global conflict, strong domestic stability is essential. Yet, historically, shutdowns represent moments when our political system struggles to function effectively, precisely when the unity and the focus are most needed. When a nation is confronting external threats, internal paralysis creates uncertainty, not just for Americans, but for our allies as well, for global markets, and for humanitarians organizations working in conflict zones. This is where Humanitarian Horizons focuses its attention. Because geopolitical conflict is often discussed in terms of strategy, power, and national interests, but the humanitarian lenses ask a different question. Who is paying the price? When war breaks out, it's rarely political leaders who suffer the consequences. Nope. No, because during this governmental shutdown, what's happening? These people are still getting their paychecks, right? The same people from the last time when the government shutdown occurred, when we had healthcare issues and a whole repertoire of horrible things that happened in the United States. Here we are again. We're back in the same position. So, who is it that suffers the consequences here? Who is it? The soldiers that are deployed from home? The families of those soldiers waiting for them to return, praying that their loved ones come back safely, whether they come back unharmed. They pray for everything. They want these people to come back. The civilians living under missile fire, the children displaced by violence, the caregivers trying to navigate trauma. Already, thousands of people across the region have been displaced as the conflict expands, and humanitarian aid organizations are scrambling to respond. Every war creates ripple effects that last for decades. Physical injuries, mental health trauma, economic devastation, and social instability. The humanitarian community understands something that policy figures and makers sometimes forget. War doesn't end when the bombs stop. War echoes through generations. This moment also forces us to confront something else: leadership. True leadership is not tested during calm moments. Leadership is tested when it's tested when everything is on the line. When everything is on the line. When fear rises, when pressure mounts, when uncertainty dominates. The world right now is watching how leaders respond. Are decisions being made carefully? Are humanitarian consequences being considered? Are long-term stability and peace being prioritized along military objectives? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones because history shows us that choices made in moments like this define decades that follow. There's also another dimension to this conversation: the role of the citizens. In democratic societies, the public has the most important role in shaping the national dialogue. That means staying informed, asking thoughtful questions, demanding accountability, and supporting humanitarian efforts. We live in an era where information moves faster than before, but clarity does not. And also, I want to caution where you're getting your information from. Depending upon the news outlets that you're getting the information from, will then provide you with different information. So you have to be careful about where you're getting the information from. Okay. Not all of it is true. Oh. In times of crisis, it becomes even more important to focus on verified information, just like I said, thoughtful discussion, and responsible civic engagement, because panic helps no one, but awareness helps everyone. Moments like this remind us that the world is deeply interconnected. A missile launch thousands of miles away can impact global energy markets overnight. A political stalemate in Washington can affect national readiness and international confidence. And humanitarian crisis can unfold rapidly when diplomacy and stability fail. The goal of Humanitarian Horizons has always been to elevate conversations beyond politics and into responsibility, leadership, human dignity, and long-term consequences of the choices we make today. Because ultimately, the question is not just whether nations win or lose. The question is how many lives are changed forever along the way. Thank you for joining me today on Humanitarian Horizons. If this conversation resonates with you, please share this episode, continue the discussion, and most importantly, stay engaged with the world around you. Because humanitarian awareness is not just the responsibility of the governments, it's the responsibility of all of us. Until next time, I am Christina DiArcangelo. Stay informed, stay compassionate, and keep your eyes on the horizons. See you for now.